again, welcome back to the NEC here in Birmingham, where I can tell you last Sunday this ring behind us was the most exciting place in the world for 6 owners and their dogs. One of them became the supreme champion, the best in show at Crufts. But it's a long, arduous task getting there, and we're going to reflect some of that today.
Yeah, there are 6 groups to be judged in all, and if you were watching us last week, well, you'll already know who some of the winners are, and we'll be meeting them again later. But before that, we're going to take a look at some of the dogs that didn't quite make it to the final selection, and we're beginning with the Terrier group. This was the first of the 6 groups to be judged at Crufts 1994, and there was plenty of interest to see what Judge Barbara Jull would make of them. She begins with a dog who's called the Boss at home, champion Orenburg Night Freight, or Luther, a 4-year-old dog, bred and owned and handled by Jane Brown. What a lovely head, Mike.
Natural, very natural breed. A working terrier meant to get into very narrow places, so the head's like an otter's, the none too heavy forelegs, the deep narrow chest, those strong loins. The breed standard is terse indeed. It just says hindquarters racy and movement is fit to follow a horse. This one's got it all.
Smashing Border Terrier. Now, this is a Bull Terrier, and the first visit to Crufts for Roy and Joe English, his owners, and I think it's Roy they're handling. It's a 2.5-year-old bitch called Maggie, or Diana the Huntress, and it's their first ever show dog, so what a win to be in the group at Crufts, Mike.
Yeah, marvellous. You know, most people expect Bull Terriers to be white, but they do come in all sorts of colours. Carol Larkin chose this eye filler with that egg-shaped head, those strong legs, and the way the breed moves always seems to say, I'm going places.
Such characters. Glenrood Kinder Magic is a 3-year-old Cairn Terrier bitch, handled, owned and bred by Sue Dolan. Sue's actually been in the breed for almost 12 years, but she's winning her first challenge certificate today, so quite a day.
Oh, it is. Another of these really natural dogs, known to my case Hons as the little people. They're sturdy as they come, they love human company, take all the exercise you can give them, and this young lady typifies the breed. Small head, alert eyes, tough legs, which must be straight and strong because she really is a worker, and the coat is just as harsh and weatherproof as a barber in the raw.
Betty is an Irish Terrier, champion Gamekeeper's Fergie. She's owned by Major Stafford Summerfield and is handled here by Peter Bell. And Betty was actually bred in America and arrived here back in 1991.
The original daredevil breed, super with the family, even if they do tend to chance their arms in a punch-up with the odd dog now and again. Remarkably racy outline, that red colour of the harsh coat's a glorious sight, a real spirit of the breed.
Elf Sir Knight is just a year old and he's a Norwich Terrier. You can tell he's a Norwich because his ears stand up. It's Norfolks with an F in the word that have a fold in their ears. This little chap's owned by Mr. Crawley, and he must be extremely proud of the dog as he was best in show at the club show just last week.
A small dog in inches, but very large in spirit. Super temperament, as well as being extremely hardy. Shortish legs, straight, well-boned, the very definition of the word compact. Dead easy to groom after a country walk over plough or pasture, fearless as they come, but very, very bad news for fox, badger or rat.
Now, quite a different outline here. Steve Felcher's Sequin at Pastelin was last year's top Celium puppy and is handled here by Phyllis Rowe. She's just a young bitch, 3 years old, and she won her second CC today.
It's a breed which has rather gone out of fashion over the years, and I think that's a pity, as it's smart as paint if kept neatly trimmed. Lovely dark eye, real terrier head, muscular, thick-set, and only about 12 inches in height. A Welsh rural dog with a fearless and really friendly disposition.
Lovely expression there too. It's just the one eye. Now, this is a soft-coated Wheaton Terrier, 3-year-old dog, American champion Shardy's Stuntman. It was bred in America by Dee and Shari Boyd and is now owned in partnership over here by Bob and Carol McKinnon. Carol handling today. What a smashing breed this is, Mike.
I think so. It's a happy Irish extrovert, this time with a soft, silky coat, the colour of ripening wheat, hence the name. A hardy, unexaggerated breed, loves children, a dog for the fit, fun-loving family, equally at home in Urban Park or out on the moors. It's a great favourite of mine. I love 'em.
Driving round the ring there too. Now, just a few months ago at the Ladies Kennel Association Championship shows, Sky, or Stormstaff Sky's the Limit, won her first CC. She's owned by Dave and Bridget Green and is handled here by Dave.
Immensely popular with all manner of folk, bold, fearless, totally reliable in its attitude to people, Our show ring's seen huge entries, over 300 at Crufts this year, but this hasn't changed his rugged looks one iota. Another canine power pack.
Really straightforward dog.
Mm.
Well, beautiful as those were, Barbara Joel's final 6 were in fact the Airedale Terrier, the Dandy Dinmont, the Wire Fox Terrier, Lakeland, Scottish Terrier and of course the Welsh Terrier, one of the biggest winners from last year. And here they are in the ring, a really smashing lineup, Mike, such quality dogs. Barbara Joel having a final look. And you can just see in the background there the Scottish Terrier. She's the breed record holder. No stranger to this ring, and she is in fact moving to that far end, but no, it's going to be the Welsh Terrier. Champion Purston Hit and Miss from Brockalisha or Buttons, owned by Anne Morn and handled in the ring here by Frank Kellett, who must be delighted. She looks a bit reluctant there to move to the centre. Really alert face, hasn't she, Mike?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And in reserve, it's the Scottish Terrier, champion Wildermiss Clara, winning for Ray and Nellie Taylor's famous kennel. Now, from the pick of the show dogs to the pick of those less fortunate, one of the rescue dogs of the year, Rob and Anne Richards, with Tasha the Rottweiler. Let me start, Rob, by asking you to describe something of Tasha's history. What had she been through?
Tasha had a pretty horrendous upbringing. She was originally trained to kill by a previous owner. He was throwing her young kittens and young rabbits. Got tired of that and then left her to die in an outhouse with nothing to eat. There were some old baby's napkins in there, that's all she had to eat.
What did she look like when you first saw her?
Tasha, at the time, she was about 40 pound in weight, where she should have been about 100 pound. Bag of bones and nothing to her, really. It took about 2 weeks to get her back on her feet. She couldn't actually stand when we had her. But over the months, you know, she did gain, and that's when she started getting out about the farm with me, and that's when we started training her on the sheep.
What does she do?
She's been used, particularly lambing time. She can catch a ewe that's in trouble lambing, and we also use her for herding as well.
And is she good with the lambs?
She's marvellous with the lambs. She's, if a ewe sort of has a bit of a trauma lambing, if Tasha's on the scene, it brings back the maternal instinct, and all is well. The ewe will then mother the lamb again. And she also goes around, if we got pet lambs, making sure they're all right.
After all that she's been through, it's extraordinary that a dog like Tasha can still be so good with people and with other animals, so trusting.
Yes, everybody asks the same thing. After being through such an horrendous upbringing, why do they trust human beings again? I don't know the answer, but you know, she's such a terrific character, an ambassador for her breed. Rottweilers get a bad name, but she's such a gentle dog, and everyone that meets her falls in love with her.
This year, the Hounds group shared the opening day of the show with the Terriers. Splendid entry, 2,670 animals, judged by Hadge Jordan in the best of group, and he had a real task there, 27 dogs to choose from, and they were all good. Fresh from their success in the breed judging, all 27 then lined up for Hadge to cast his expert eye over. And the first we look at is the Basset Fauve de Bretagne. This is Sharon Pinkerton's Basset. Saffron, the top winning Fauve in 1993, 2.5-year-old bitch, Dira Saffron at Barivi.
An awful lot of name for not a lot of dog, but what there is as neat as a trivet inside that harsh, dense coat, in a very natty shade of reddish fawn. Ever so friendly, these, nimble as a squirrel, and she'll push a casual rabbit into top gear in a trice. A thoroughly lovable little lady, this. Isn't she beautiful?
Moves beautifully. Look at that tail. Very sparky little dog.
I'm not surprised they're popular.
The long-haired Dachshund is called Teddy Bears, and he's 4 years old. Bred, owned and handled by Anne Booth from Dunstable. Aberlongdat Mr. Money Money, actually, best of the 94 on show.
I wonder where they dreamed up that name. This size, which is incorrectly referred to as a standard, comes in all sorts of colours, but this is obviously the red. The coat's soft and straight, longest under the neck, along the underline and under the tail. A good one like this is glamour personified, but a bad one looks an absolute disaster because the coat gets all over the place and it doesn't flow as it walks round the ring.
And this one certainly flows. Absolutely lovely. Interesting though, the face, nice and long pointed, whereas here with the wire-haired Dachshund, it's a slightly different look. 3-year-old Jenny, champion Tarchul Take 2, won best of breed last year as well for owner Barbara Pearson of Leeds, handled in the ring by Sandy Pearson.
Totally different, of course, in coat length and texture, with those Dennis Healy eyebrows and the goatee beard. The whole dog's covered with a short, straight, harsh jacket, reminiscent of the old Wehrmacht field uniform, which seems reasonably appropriate in a German dog.
The 2.5-year-old elk hound Ramnes Bjarni, known as Bjarno, suffered dreadful head injuries, believe it or not, in an accident when only a year old. But today, he's perfect. Best of breed for owner Bob Began of Yelverton.
Solidly built, super temperament. This chap must rank as the light heavyweight amongst the hounds, but he jolly well needs to be to tackle elks, or as they call them in Yankee land, moose. Pictures in Anne Roslyn Williams' recent book on the breed show he's hardly altered at all in the last half century.
The Hamilton Stavari, best of only 18 of the breed here. Fred Markin's Carrot, known as Jasper, obviously. He's only 20 months old, owned by a consortium. One of them, Diane Cook, is the handler.
The Swedish equivalent of our foxhound, and this chap actually came in from Sweden because the very enthusiastic British breeders are determined to breed from the best and need different strains to keep their breed right. And this one certainly ought to help. What an athlete.
On to the Ibethan hound. 4 years old, Paran Christmas Ivy. Comes from Baldock in Hertfordshire with owner Jenny Startup. Bred from an imported dog. What a beauty.
My wife used to keep this elegant breed, and Michael Quinney found a really top quality bitch for his best of breed. A relentless hunter which can shut its ears to all human entreaty when heated in the chase, as I can well testify. Certainly not for the townie with too little time for exercise, but jolly good for anyone fighting the flab.
Yes, they look after their own diets out in Ibiza. I've seen them there, great scavengers. The Irish Wolfhound is Champion Bocra Etoile. 3.5-year-old bitch called Star, owned by Sandy Surrell and Kathleen Coleman from Kent. Kathleen's the handler and describes Star as very nosy. And it's a big girl to be nosy.
Yes, the tallest breed on the register. Laid back to the point where she hardly ever breaks sweat. But find this lass a handy Irish wolf and then she'll motor. Truly the gentle giant, but if you're thinking of getting one, well, think on. As they eat to fit their frame, and if they ever do decide to pull on the lead, you may reach for the brake in vain.
Well, Jessica will be pleased to see the Otter Hound. Annie here has the hugely dignified name of Champion Actaeons Precocious with Kingstree. Judith Ashworth of Warwick says the 5-year-old's been a consistent winner since 6 months old, with one Hound Group Open Best in Show to her name.
And as she lives just down the road from the NEC, a mere 25 miles at the most, in the days when she was allowed to hunt otters, that would have been just a pre-lunch stroll. A rough coat, fully weatherproofed, so she may bring a fair sample of the countryside with her when she comes home. So she's one for the energetic and not for the house-proud. The kindest of temperaments, even if she can sound off like the QE2 if she sights something interesting.
But none of those were in Harry Jordan's top 6. He selected the Beagle, the miniature long-haired Dachshund, the miniature wire-haired Dachshund, the Whippet, the Petit Basset Griffon Vendéen, and the Borzoi. And I must say that Hadge really didn't take very long to make his decision. He fairly quickly called for the boards and then walked straight over to the Beagle.
A very wise decision.
Smashing dog champion Bayard Syndicate of Lowick, a 3-year-old bitch known as Cindy, Colin Lomax, the delighted owner. And for the reserve, champion Silkstone Jewel in the Crown, Joy, a 2-year-old Whippet bitch. But top honours, best in group for the hounds, and her 3rd best in group went to Cindy. Now, before we go on to the gun dog group, we'll take a short look at a gun dog demonstration that took place in the main ring and really entertained the huge crowd at the NEC. We're actually watching a professional trainer, Ian Openshaw, with his Springer Spaniel bitch puppy. She's only 8 months old, Tina. And some she got right, some she got wrong. She nearly went after that, which is supposed to be a rabbit. It's certainly the slowest rabbit I've ever seen, but Tina really did behave impeccably on her first big display in the main ring. The demonstration itself is really all about control, because with guns around, you can guarantee that if the dogs are in the wrong place, they could easily get shot. We're actually watching Muscat here, golden retriever, 4 years old, being sent out to retrieve from the the dummy cover there, and bringing most of it back to Janet Webb. But in fact, the aim of the demonstration is to show that the dogs are controlled to go after what the handlers want them to fetch. We're actually going to watch Pat Taft, who's actually a postman, sending 4-year-old Jet, this black lab, out to get what he wants. Now that's another shot gone, another bird has supposedly dropped right by him. He's not to go for that, he's got to go for the one he was sent for. You can hear Martin Dealey, the organiser of this demonstration, saying that quite clearly. The dog, not confused, just waiting to be instructed. That's where it went, over in the cover. Most game will fall into cover and the dogs have to go and get it. Splendid demonstration.
We often say, you know, that you can tell which day of the show that you're on by looking at the clothes that the crowd are wearing. If you see a high density of wax cotton jackets around, well, you know it's Gun Dog Day, or at least it's a pretty sure bet. Real outdoor people to go with real countryside dogs. And this is one of my favourite groups. 26 best of breeds gathered for Arnold Hall to go over. He's a curly coat and a cocker enthusiast, so maybe it'll be one of them. Really elegant dogs, aren't they, Mike?
Yes, and they're much quieter than most groups.
Well trained. The first to look at is Lucy, or Joymon's Fitzgig at Hunter's Ridge, a 3.5-year-old Brittany bitch. And she came out on top of the breed this year. Bred by Mr. and Mrs. Greenwood, she's owned and shown by Judith Clements, and apparently is a bit of an escapologist at home.
One of the hunt, point and retrieve breeds, and a very good worker in the field. A busy sort altogether. Always eager to please, ever so energetic. Coat flat and dense, pretty easy to keep clean and smart. And that square shape and medium length neck, given this unusual clipped style of movement. It's a bit unusual.
Well shown there. Now, Asher holds great promise for her owners Peter and Liz Harper. Zolonki Zach Asher by Pitzwarren was bred by Anne Knight and is half-brother to the current Hungarian Vizsla breed record holder.
That gleaming russet gold coat gets this breed a host of admirers, and it looks even better outside in the sunshine. Another of the all-purpose gun dogs. He's lively but gentle-mannered, as well as eminently trainable. Those tight feet and well-shaped muscular legs give him a very smart trot, as well as a spectacular galloping style.
Great workers too. Show champion Swan Dance Signet, or Siggy, is a 6-year-old pointer bitch, owned and bred by Jill and David Russell and handled by Jill. Siggy has already won one group and a best in show at a group show too.
And a truly spectacular breed, with its classic outline, the shining coat, and especially that tip-tilted nose. They're all characteristics. They come in a range of colours, including lemon, orange, liver and black, or all with white. Easy to groom. His kindly disposition make him a family dog as well as a high-class sportsman.
Enjoying the showing today too. Misha is a true worker who loves nothing better than to pick up on the shoot at home. Chesapeake French Connection at Redchester hails from Molly Barker's kennel and is owned and handled by Janet Spate.
The least known of the retrievers, the Chessie comes from the eastern seaboard of Maryland. That strong, muscular look and the ultimate in drip-dry, waterproof coats are thoroughly characteristic. It's a big-frame breed, energetic, so they eat well. And don't take him on if you're lazy, and stand well clear when he shakes after a swim. On land, he can move like a train.
Show champion Gladrag's Celebrity was certainly a celebrity today. Known as Etty at home, she's a compulsive duck herder and has a suicidally enthusiastic entry into water, apparently. She's a 4-year-old bitch handled by Gladys Phillips.
You can't mistake this handsome bitch for anything else with those tight, crisp curls all over her, except for the face and the muzzle. They even run right down the tail. It's another waterproof job, ever so friendly and bold. They can come liver-coloured, but this black's much commoner.
Barney is a grand old gentleman at 8.5 years old. My apologies to his owners, John and Frankie Prosser, if I mispronounce his very Welsh name, but show champion Silksheen Bledin of Nantdew has quite a record, 24 challenge certificates.
This is a rather longer cast than the better-known cocker, and unusually docile, although thoroughly independent. The breed standard says it's all ideal for rough shooting, but not suitable for the city. Usually seen in this liver colour, but they can be black or roan, all three with tan on occasion. As they carry quite a lot of feathering on the chest, they need thorough grooming.
Really enjoying the showing today. Lovely wagging tail. Now, I think Irish Water Spaniels always look like real characters, and Womble is no exception. His owner, Tonya Mould, describes him as quite mad. Titan Mordarin was bred by Gino Sullivan and won his second CC today.
It's tall for a spaniel, and actually the breed's used more as a retriever. Very much at home in water. He has these tight ringlets all over him except on his muzzle, down the front of his neck and on the greater part of his tail. Only comes in this liver colour, a versatile worker with a staunch, stable temperament.
And happy too. There were 187 Welsh springers entered under Judge Anne Walton, and many may have expected to see Tom Graham's show champion Russet Hill Royal Salute over Nilliram in the group. But he was pipped to the post today by Tamir's Tempest, piloted to his second CC by Michael McGrath.
What a glorious, rich, dark red that is on the white background. He's got a finer head than his English cousin. He's just a trifle smaller, but he's got much the same temperament and is steadily gaining in popularity. That silky coat is surprisingly easy to keep clean and tidy, and what a smooth driving action he's got.
Showing really well. Well, that's a flavour of the group, but Arnold Hall's final 6 were in fact the English setter, the Irish setter, the flat-coated retriever, the American Cocker Spaniel, the Cocker Spaniel and the German short-haired pointer. Now, Arnold Hall made all our hearts jump when he selected 2 for a further look, because they were at opposite ends of that lineup and he couldn't really compare them side by side, so putting them together, the Cocker and the English setter. And it's the Cocker Spaniel show champion Linwater Dawn Shimmer, with David Todd handling for Elizabeth McLean, the first cocker to win the Gundog Group at Crufts since 1978. And in reserve, show champion Sundela Crackerjack, owned by Barbara Davis and handled by husband Clive. It's a really merry cocker temperament coming out there, isn't it, Mike? Lovely to see.
Indeed, and it's so nice to see an orange and white, thoroughly enjoying itself, really happy.
Especially winning the group. Now, here's a different way to look at dogs, our Crufts A to Z. See how many you can name, and we'll reveal all at the end of the programme.
The last time a toy breed won the Best in Show here in Crufts was back in 1973 with a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. Well, can lightning strike twice? Certainly a long gap in between, but it's a super group. I find it probably the most entertaining of all at the show. All these little dogs which have the Tom Hanks syndrome of really wishing to be big.
As the judge.
And there are 20 of them in contention for the Best in Group, judged by Michael Quinney. The Affan Pincher is champion Tonsan Aristotle at Essency. Thank goodness he's called Coco for short. 5 3/4 years old, and this is his second Crufts Best of Breed for Cindy McCarthy from Ascot.
One of the very oldest breeds of the toy dog in Europe, originates from Germany, once known as the Black Devil. In truth, he's a perky little chap with a mischievous monkey-like face and those round, sparkling eyes. Ears are permitted to be upright or dropped, though to my mind he looks better with them up. He's got a super strutting manner of going.
The Bichon Frise, popular entry, 124 dogs in fact, and Italian Vanessa was judged the best, a 3.5-year-old bitch known as Paris by owner Lynn Clark from Manchester, and this is their first big win.
A real glamour girl, this, with that flashy white jacket. That's meant to be silky with soft corkscrew curls, but the topiaries do tend to go a bit over the top with the scissors at times. Merry charmer with dark round eyes who makes a great member of the household. A very balanced dog with a remarkably positive style when he's on the move.
Yeah, she looks as though she might blow away in the wind. Now Murphy here is not yet 2 years old. Owned by Miss Dee Nielsen of Poplar in East London, Dee's only owned him for a year, but what a success today for a rare, long-haired Chinese crested dog.
Yes, just as the man on the Clapham omnibus had got used to the shock of seeing the naked version, along comes this fellow in the long veil of soft hair, known somewhat quaintly as the powder puff. Much more solidly built than that gentle expression might lead you to believe. Devotees will tell you that there are delightful companions with a built-in burglar alarm. What a nice flowing action this lad has.
Very smart, and I like that version best, I think. Another young bitch here, Starbeck String of Pearls. Pearl is just 13 months old, a great triumph today for Alison Price of Tredegar. And not to insult them both, but I always do think that the Griffon Bruxellois is a real rough diamond in appearance.
Yeah, what a gritty little bitch it is. With a fair bit of the terrier in the background, they make smashing house dogs, in spite of being small, but they aren't yappers. Squarish in body, surprisingly robust, free-moving with a jaunty sort of air. I have to admit to being thoroughly biased in favour of this cocky little bitch. You'd never have guessed, would you, Peter?
Smashing. Really strutting her stuff. This Japanese chin came today from Sywell in Northampton. He's champion a Mantra Katara of Sangria, almost 2 years old, owned by Jeff Farmer. Now he's had 2 reserve best in group, but this is his biggest win to date.
A dainty, airy-fairy little dog, this, known for his large, dark, wide-set eyes with just a little hint of white showing in the inner corners to give him what is called a slightly astonished look. That coat's long, silky and straight, and underneath is a compact, cobby body. A stylish, straight movement is de rigueur.
Well, I'm sure it is, but this one's showing very well indeed. Smart little dog, lovely markings. This is Enid Hilsom's Louchen, 2-year-old Brett, or Cleeview Bold Boy of St Terry from Doncaster.
With that full mane like a lion and the traditionally clipped loins and hindquarters, he's got the subtitle of Little Lion Dog, but unlike the lion, he's affectionate and shows no sign of aggression whatsoever. This chap's coat is typically long, silky with a certain amount of wave. To the uninitiated, he might seem a bit of a pampered pet, but he's nothing of the sort.
The Maltese belongs to Jan Butler of Roos, South Wales, and today becomes her first champion. Rocket, or Firenze's Back with a Vengeance, is a 2-year-old bitch.
What a day for her. A dog of antiquity and purity. That amazing curtain of straight silky hair which seems to sweep the floor as she goes doesn't ever seem to prevent her moving like a train with tremendous purpose. Obviously a lively little creature, the breed was popular with the aristocracy from way back.
This is Pavarotti, a 2-year-old Papillon from Bedfordshire, champion Daneview Yahoo at Tussalud. Owner Kay Stewart says he was quite a singer as a puppy, hence the name.
Yes, but anything less of a Yahoo than this exquisite chap can hardly be imagined. It's a most intelligent little breed which has found its way into the obedience ring recently with impressive results. Those large, heavily fringed ears are carried erect at around 45 degrees to the head, like the wings of a butterfly, and many paps have a narrow white blaze to represent the body.
But Michael Quinney's final 6 were the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, the smooth-coated Chihuahua, the Pekingese, the Pomeranian, the Pug, and the Yorkshire Terrier. And as always came that moment in the centre ring where 5 were to be disappointed. But 1 would have the great success. Michael Quinney goes straight over. It's the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel that took the prize. Champion Springtide at Allensmere, Chuckles, a 4.5-year-old dog, the breed all-time record holder with owner John Evans from Standish in Gloucestershire, and he looks well pleased. And the reserve, again no question, went to the Yorkshire Terrier, champion Osmillion Mystification with owner Osman Samisha. I must say I've lost count how many times he's been in this position.
Oh, it's about every other year.
It certainly is. Well done to Chuckles, but I'll tell you something, I bet that he couldn't do this. You've seen sheepdog trials, you've seen animal herding of all kinds. This is duck herding. The border collie is called Ben. He's 4.5 years old, and he's herding 3 ducks. His owner is Emlyn Roberts from Anglesey, who's represented Wales in sheepdog trials internationally. And this really is a very difficult exercise. It's in the crowded special events ring, and if you hear a little bit of commentary in the background, that's Eric Halsall, who was doing the commentary for the crowd. Eric Halsall from One Man and His Dog. Nice to hear him in action again. One of the more natural things for a dog to do is to bring stock towards its owner, all on whistled commands. But one of the harder things to train is to train the dog to drive them away, whether it's sheep or ducks. The ducks, incidentally, are Blackie, Margaret and Sian. Nice to have a Welsh name in there. But now the dog has to weave the ducks back. Instead of bringing them in a straight line, which is perhaps the most natural thing for him to do, he now has to weave them round through all these obstacles, and at the end he's going to have to put them in that pen. The most difficult part, I suppose, must be performing in front of such a close crowd. This indoor arena, the special events ring at the National Exhibition Centre, where events go on all day and every day throughout Crufts Dog Show, so that people who just come along for a look can have some marvellous entertainment. And Ben obviously thoroughly enjoying this. I shouldn't think there's a farm in the country that doesn't have a border collie on it. And like all border collies, I'm told Ben is never happier than when he's working, and didn't he do well?
On to the utility group now, a real mixture of everything from the ultimately solid bulldog to the flowing lines of a standard poodle in full flight. And there are some really exotic dogs in this group of 24 breeds too. There were 2,933 utility dogs, in fact whittled down to 24 best of breeds for Judge Mr. Lionel Hamilton Rennick, and the first of them is the Chow Chow champion Joutrix Red Magnum, or Magnum for short, a 2.5-year-old dog who won his 8th CC today for owners Jack and Dorothy Trick.
A very distinctive Spitz because he's got a bluish-black tongue, much quieter and standoffish than most of the Spitz. Small ears tip towards each other and produce a scowl.
Now, here's a name for you, Mike. Mrs. Pierce's Shiba Inu dog is called Lemanchek Hot Toddy Shushemba. I think I need a bit of a rest after that. Over to you.
I couldn't agree more. It's a newish breed in the United Kingdom, but already very popular. Another Spitz, again with those forward-inclined ears, and this time a plush feel to his coat, which comes in quite a variety of colours, including black and tan. Lively, friendly chap with this light, energetic gait.
And a lovely big smiley face too, really enjoying his showing today. Now Sam is dedicated to carrying his owner Jean Coran's shoes apparently. He's a 5-year-old Japanese Spitz dog with the appropriate title Champion Snow Wisp Iceberg. And he's one hell of a dog too, having won 27 CCs. He's the breed record holder.
Dead right. This fellow's a very successful dog indeed. Yet another of the Spitz from Japan, but this time comes in dazzling white. With that alert expression and dark oval eyes, he really is a lovely balanced fella. Not too noisy, but let you know when strangers are about. Ever so nimble on his feet. But for once, I can honestly say he won't demand too much exercise if it's not your style.
And that snow-white coat looks fabulous against the green carpet. Now, Mike, apart from introducing Julia Bratley's Caisson champion Van Wall Sergeant Pepper of Valcantes, it's over to you. This is very much your breed.
Yes, Jessica, I was delighted to see this chap go best of breed because I've got his 12-year-old granddad Jack back home. Like him, Sergeant Pepper is a friendly fellow, but he'll kick up holy murder if he sees or hears an invader. Needs regular grooming, but not every day of his life.
Owner Jim Bainbridge says he looks a bit like he's wearing a wig in the morning because champion Nedlick Annabelle at Boothoff, Annabelle for short, likes to drape herself on his pillow for comfort. A bit of a glamour dog, Mike.
Whatever turns you on. That long, heavy, straight coat comes in a host of colours, each one as striking as the next. Underneath, there's a gay, assertive dog with a sensible length of muzzle, strong, well-arched neck and standing about 10 inches high. He's no namby-pamby lap dog, but a sturdy family pet, perfectly prepared to keep up this tireless action over field or pavement.
Champion Jalanta Smart Alec became a champion last week, so Joan and David Porter must be delighted with him. He's the 5th champion that they've managed to breed as well. This is the middle size of poodles, and I read somewhere, Mike, that back at the turn of the century when they were first shown, they were actually shown with corded coats like commodores.
Yeah, so I believe. I've never seen one like it, but it may be true. Virtually the same dog as the larger standard, up to 15 inches at the shoulder, but never under 11 because that's the toy version's limit. An expression full of fire from dark eyes set in a very well chiselled face. A good one, like this smart chap, can move freely without any show ring affectation whatsoever.
Lovely intelligent dogs too. Now what a surprise this one was when I saw him enter the ring. I confess to never having seen a Schipperke in any other colour but black, but that's my ignorance. Dusty, or Fran Howell Gold Dust, is a 5.5-year-old dog handled here by David Short, and Dusty apparently retires today.
Does he indeed? Yes, it's another of the Spits, this time from the canals of Belgium and Holland. The tail is customarily docked, but left to its own devices, it tends to be carried up, curled over his back. Those who recognise this neat little breed will expect, as you said, to see him in black, but we do get these other colours, and this one's aptly named Gold Dust.
Very attractive. Champion Harrowpine Icarus has just one more CC to win, to add to the 33 he's already got, that is, if he wants to equal the Shih Tzu breed record for owners Michael and Dee Harper.
Very slightly taller than the Lhasa Apso, this chap's got a round, front-facing eyes which give him a warm expression likened by his fan club to the look of a chrysanthemum. He's one heck of an extrovert with a thoroughly arrogant way of going. He's actually a very friendly dog, if somewhat independent. I think this one is an absolute cracker.
So a lovely selection of dogs there, but not the final 6 that Lionel Hamilton-Reddick pulled out. They were the Dalmatian, the Japanese Akita, the miniature Schnauzer, the standard poodle, the Schnauzer, and finally the Tibetan Terrier. So a lineup that really does represent the variety of the utility group. All sorts of shapes and sizes here, Mike.
Complete bundle of things, isn't it?
To represent their
The
breed.
glamour of the standard poodle there and the tight clipping of the Schnauzer. Dalmatian's a lovely natural dog. But he's gone to the standard poodle for the group. That's champion Pamplona Something Special, the top utility dog and 3rd dog overall this year, Michael Code and Tommy Mullins. And for the reserve, it's the miniature Schnauzer, Sean Frost and David Bates, made for gold with Amorique, who was apparently made up today. Lovely look at the head of the standard poodle there.
Now, just as a taster for our Action Dogs programme next week, in which you'll be able to see all the good action events from Crufts, the flyball. Marvellous event, and this year at Crufts, unfortunately only at Crufts, not nationally in competition, but at Crufts, the boxes have been standardised, and you really can see the ball fly through the air, and that's the name of the event, flyball. In the final, you'll be able to see Ash Dog Training Club, Rugby Dog Training Club, the Bedfordshire All Breeds Training Society and Aberystwyth Dragons. Those will be competing in the final of the flyball. You'll also be able to see the Obedience Championships. Extensively we'll show the dog competition, and we'll also bring you highlights of the finish of the bitches competition. And as usual, you'll be able to take a good look at the agility competition. This is something which the heats have taken place every day throughout Crufts Show. The main arena always set out with this marvellous course, well, all different courses every day for the heats. And we're watching a team which is actually Derby and District Dog Training Club here going round the course. They didn't qualify for the final. The final, once again, we'll see Peterlee Dog Training Club together with Easington Dog Training Society, Rugby Dog Training Club and Kidlington Dog Training Club. Those are the ones who battled through to the final, and you'll be able to see the highlights of that event in our programme next week. The agility, always exciting, always entertaining, and on finals day, a packed crowd here cheering the dogs to victory. The final group to be judged in the show this year, on the final day itself, was the working group. 43 breeds in all, where the real giants of the canine world come into close competition with some of the most intelligent guarding and herding dogs in the business. It's a smashing group. And there were 43 of them in all, coming under the scrutiny of Judge Albert White. Boomer here is 3.5. He's an Alaskan Malamute owned by Jill Broadbury from Newark, and he's a big winner with an even bigger name, Canadian champion Upik's Winter Excellence at Haituton. Ouch.
One of the shooting stars of the 1903 season. The Shire horse of the sledding breeds, hence his big frame, and his own weight is in excess of 100 weight. A dog for those who like their dogs solid and strong.
The Anatolian Shepherd dog, Seacop Yosen Tosen, Yoto, was also best of breed last year. He's a 6-year-old dog for owners Bob and Pat Broadhead, also won the best bitch of the breed.
A tall Mastiff type, fawn or cream, with a black mask is the desired style, hence the name of Calabash. A guard against marauding wolves, not a chap to tangle with unless your intentions are strictly honourable, because he weighs in around the 140-pound mark.
6-year-old Sam has been best of breed here for 3 years. Belgian Shepherd dog, Gronendahl version. Champion Zodiac of Questenberg at Jallis is owned by Jeff Luscott from Cheltenham.
A handsome fella, long black coat, a dog of grace and presence with a real style of going which is described as brisk, free and even, and of a high style. And we see it here to perfection. You have to be fit to show a Belgian.
Champion Frostison's Leaf is a 22-month-old Norwegian boohund from Shaftesbury in Dorset. And according to owner Kerry Frost, he's a real mummy's boy.
He's another of my personal favourites, a typical Spitz, thrives on work, a right bustler of a dog. He likes people, but he doesn't fawn on them. His wedge-shaped head and pricked ears, a high-set tail are his trademarks.
6-year-old Chico, this Portuguese water dog, is named appropriately Cartmel Sea Voyager, owned by Pat Jones of Cartmel.
A born swimmer, and Portugal's fisherfolk use his powerful shoulder muscles to help them retrieve lost nets. He's also a very handy guard. He's a trifle on the self-willed side, but extremely faithful to his owners. He has that unusual clip so that he doesn't get waterlogged while he's doing the crawl.
This Pyrenean mountain dog is also from Cumbria. Reno, or Champion Lordly Damascus, is a 4-year-old owned by Colin Bowker of Ambleside.
He tends to move in a steady, majestic fashion, and that's because for generations he's been selected to patrol round and through the grazing flocks of sheep on the lookout for marauding animals.
No, not a corgi, but a Swedish Valhund. Upjohn Belisama, or Betty for short, is a 2-year-old and owned by John Lester of Wigan.
A thoroughly friendly, active animal with an easy-to-groom, harsh topcoat and a lot of soft, woolly undercoat. This sturdy little bitch moves with a desired free action, the forelegs moving well forward and the hinds administering a powerful thrust behind.
We've seen 1 or 2 of these in agility. They're very good.
Oh, and very nippy.
The Maremma sheepdog, Champion Sonima Kainos, owned by the Latimers from Armathwaite, was best of breed 1990, 92 and 93, and again this year.
What a record. Said to be descended from the Magyar's working dogs, which suggests the breed's been about a bit. The males weigh in at 90 pounds or so, which means he's not for the idle, so you may have to move about a bit.
Chikola Kushi, an appropriate name for the Tibetan Mastiff, 4 years old, which Karen Giles from Chithington in Surrey calls Moose.
A handsome brown lad, this. He originates from the foothills of the Himalayas, so he really needs that fairly long, thick overcoat and the heavy undercoat when the weather's at its coldest. A very effective guard, not a dog to trifle with, because he can be protective.
But none of them got into the frame because Albert White chose for his final 6 the Smooth Collie, the Doberman, the Border Collie, the Giant Schnauzer, the Rottweiler and the Shetland Sheepdog. And so those 6 in the ring, in immediate moments of embarrassment, as Albert White pointed at the steward and the handler of the Smooth Collie thought it was to say that she'd won. Embarrassing for her, embarrassing for Albert White. But the tension built even more. Who was he going to pick? In the end, though, he went over, and it was the Border Collie. Joe Champion, Dyke Bar Future Glory, 3.5-year-old bitch. And the reserve was the Sheltie, owned by Mrs. Rowan of Sheffield, Rowan Crest Regality. But the Border Collie there Top Border Collie in 1993 and already a winner of 18 challenge certificates owned by John Ritchie of Lanarkshire. So with the 6 best of group winners already selected, we now come to the absolute climax of the show. The centre ring here at the NEC in rapt attention. You could almost hear a pin drop as we come to the judging for the best in show. And there they are, the final 6 from the terrier group. Buttons, the 4-year-old Welsh Terrier, number 2 in the top 10 winners of the year. Champion Purston Hit and Miss at Brockalisha, handled there by Frank Kellett.
Topping the hounds was the Beagle, Cindy, champion Bayard Syndicate at Lowick for Pat and Colin Lomax.
This year's best gun dog, show champion Linwater Dawn Shimmer, 2.5-year-old Cocker Spaniel.
The toy group went to the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, Chuckles, or champion Springtide at Allensmere, owned by Messrs Evans and Hall and handled by John Evans.
And from the utility group, champion Pamplona Something Special, Michael Code's beautiful 3-year-old standard poodle bitch.
Albert White revealed in his critique that show champion Dykebar Future Glory, or Sky, is probably the best border collie he's ever judged. I should think that John and Lorraine Ritchie pray that Ken Bullock feels the same.
And as Jessica says, Ken Bullock is the man who has the task of sorting out the best of these from the best. They're all excellent. He's now taking a look at the Cavalier King Charles. Wandering down the line there. He took his time. A lot of people say to me they don't like the standard poodle in that cut, but there's a real dog under that.
I think they look magnificent. They're such intelligent dogs too, such presence in the ring. And that really is absolutely what you need at this time. Those handlers must be so nervous. Some of them have had to come back from previous days and just be ready, getting the best out of their dogs for this moment.
But not John Ritchie there with the Border Collie. This is working group day and the audience predominantly supporting the working dogs. But what was Ken Bullock going to choose? Was he going to please the majority there, or was it going to be one of the other 5? Well, we all held our breath. But eventually, after a fair amount of deliberation, he went over, and you can see that Frank Kellett's paying too much attention to his dog. He doesn't know he's won yet. Yes, he does now. That was the moment when he realised that the Welsh Terrier, Buttons, after winning everything in sight over the last 12 months, this was the culmination of all that preparation and care.
And listen to that roar. That's for the Reserve Best in Show winner, show champion Dykebar Future Glory, present glory more like, because Reserve Best in Show at Crufts is a tremendous achievement.
But the day belongs to Buttons.
So what you can see behind us is the closing seconds of Crufts 1994, and now we know it was the Welsh Terrier that crowned the lot. Wonderful show, wasn't it?
Smashing. And the photographers zooming around there like bees around the honey pot. Well, we haven't finished from Crufts even yet, because we have one more programme next week when you'll be able to see all of the action events, well, not all of them, but a nice selection of them from the main ring. Some really good stuff, agility, obedience, fly ball. It's worth watching. See you then. From Jess and me and the whole team, we hope you enjoyed our coverage from Crufts. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
And as